A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the holiday classic, and a book which I believe I have read more times than any other that I own because I read this book every year. It is a true Yuletide tradition for me. Now, I make no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of Charles Dickens. I've read several of his works, and I've always found them at least okay, reasonably entertaining, even if there's not always a lot to chew on. But only two of his works that I've read have ever truly wowed me, they being this and A Tale of Two Cities. But this slim little volume I truly hold to be perfection exemplified. The story of A Christmas Carol is iconic, and the characters that enact it are household names. And rightfully so, because this book is truly a masterpiece if ever there was one. Now, I probably don't even need to recap the story of A Christmas Carol unless you live under a rock. There is a stingy old prick named Ebenezer Scrooge who hates Christmas and treats everyone around him like crap until one night he is visited by the ghost of his former business partner, who tells him that in order to escape a bleak afterlife as a result of his tight fisted assholery, he will be visited by three Christmas spirits who will show him the error of his ways by taking him through the Christmas times that comprise his past, his present, and his future to show him where he went wrong, what his life looks like now, and where it's going if he doesn't change. And again, the characters in this story are instantly recognizable. Ebenezer Scrooge, the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, and Tiny Tim, again, iconic. However, if you only know this story from the adaptations of it, because this is perhaps the most oft adapted work ever, you basically get a new adaptation of this work every year. But if you only know the story of A Christmas Carol from the adaptations, you would do well to go back and read the actual book because it may be lost upon you just how moving and impactful this story is. I really do believe that A Christmas Carol may be one of the greatest redemption tales ever told, and the lessons that it has to impart are always relevant, still just as much so as when it first came out. Now, the character of Ebenezer Scrooge and the trajectory, the arc that he undergoes over the course of this book is, as I said, incredibly powerful. We see Ebenezer Scrooge at the beginning of the story just basically an anhedonic miser who can feel no real pleasure and hates Christmas time and the holiday cheer. But as the ghost of Christmas past takes us and him back through his life, we understand how he came to be that way. He grew up hard, he grew up poor, and he became very driven to overcome the poverty in which he was born at the cost of everything else. And there are some scenes in particular in that section of the story where he is shown the Christmas times of his past that will damn near make you cry or will make you cry, especially the part where he loses the love of his life because he would rather have that dinero than he would her. And then, especially when we see how their lives diverged and how he is utterly alone in the world and has no one, has only his money, which he doesn't even use to improve his life that much because he hoards it so much. And then we see her life, how she has a loving family and is content even if she's not fabulously wealthy. And like I said, damn, does it hurt. And we now start to feel sympathy for Ebenezer Scrooge because we understand him a little bit better. Then, when the story jumps to the Christmas present, the Christmas at hand, and we're shown how Scrooge's life looks now on the outside with others looking in, how he just absolutely has no one. He all he has is his money, which he doesn't even use, and how there are other people in the world that are vastly poorer than him that still have it so much better. Because the ultimate lesson here being money isn't everything, and you can't take it with you. Now, it's always important to strive and try to do well and prosper, but you always have to take it within the context of all the other things in your life. I mean, it's not worth giving up what Ebenezer Scrooge gives up in here to achieve the level of wealth that he does because he gives up everything. And as we see his life as it stands from the outside in the Ghost of Christmas Present section, it really does sting to see just how alone he really is and how everyone else just kind of laughs at him behind his back and hates him because he's such a tool. But then also, we get a broader perspective to see how Christmas is celebrated by those who really don't even have any means to celebrate it with, but yet how Christmas, the Christmas time spirit, really brings out the best in people except Ebenezer Scrooge because he hates it. And then when we move into the third section of the three spirits, where we get to see Ebenezer Scrooge's life as it will be if he continues on his present course, then it really is rammed home just how direly he has messed up, because we know what's happening even if Ebenezer Scrooge doesn't, because we know who the dead person is that the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come shows him, even again if Ebenezer Scrooge doesn't. And again, it stings to see just how callously he is treated after death, how no one has any good word to say about him at all, how he has left nothing but a legacy of disdain and scorn and a pile of money that will now go to no one because he has no one to leave it to. And it hurts. It really does hurt. But then after Scrooge falls to his knees and professes that he is a changed man and that he will not be what he is any longer, it is incredibly uplifting. In that final brief chapter where we see how he sets about changing his ways and doing better is, again, tear jerking, but in a slightly different manner. And the effect of this book that it has overall is just one that is far more powerful than any book of 105 pages probably has a right to be. And the writing style of this book serves the story wondrously. Charles Dickens's warm, friendly, and inviting manner of writing really does work wonders for this story because it draws you in and it just feels so um, kind of just intimate. The way that he just kind of spins this yarn in such kind of language that just draws you in like you're being told a story on somebody's porch or just listening to somebody tell a story firsthand. It really is that great. And the characters of this book, again, they're just iconic. We all know who Tiny Tim is, who Ebenezer Scrooge is, who the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future are. And they are that iconic because this book has such a powerful effect. In fact, this book was so influential that there were fears that after Charles Dickens's death that Christmas would fade into obscurity, because prior to the publication of this book, Christmas was not the holiday that we know it to be now. It was certainly celebrated, but not in the extravagant way that it is now, thanks basically solely to this book. This book really did define Christmas and the way that we celebrate it, and I don't think its influence or its power will ever diminish no matter how many years go by, because this book is just as timeless as past, present, and yet to come. And if you have not read A Christmas Carol, I would highly urge you to do it because it is well worth the read, and you can read it in just a couple hours. But the lessons that it has to give are incredibly valuable. Money is important, but it is not the most important thing. And if you have to give up what Ebenezer Scrooge gives up in this book to get it, it's not worth it. And you have to take into account that, again, it's not the most important thing, and that there are other things that are of little monetary value that vastly outweigh in other kinds of value the dollar. And yeah, this book is just an absolute masterpiece. I love it, and I read it every year, and I think you should read it at least once if you haven't. Um, so yeah, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Have you read A Christmas Carol? If you have, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it, whether you have agreed or disagreed with anything that I've said about it here today. And if you haven't read A Christmas Carol, definitely pick it up and read it, because as William Makepeace Thackeray said about it, it is a personal kindness to anybody who reads it. And As always, if you have enjoyed anything you've seen or heard here today, remember to like, subscribe, help the channel out a little bit. I would greatly appreciate it. And Merry Christmas and God bless us, everyone.